What's going on, y'all? It's your boy Gibbons here,
We'll see.
and welcome to yet another episode of the Achromous podcast, episode number 41. 41 episodes, 41 straight weeks of doing this, giving you some great gems, giving you some amazing content for you to go back into your life and use it for your own. If this is your first time watching this Achromous podcast on YouTube, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and hit that notification bell so that every time you get on YouTube and you know that there's a new Achromous podcast episode out, you'll be one of the first people to see it. And most of all,
it is free to do so. So let's make sure to do that, guys. We need to get those subscription numbers up. We want to make sure that we are reaching people, and it's really important that we spread the word and get these gems out there. So we're going to need your help to do so.
Absolutely. Absolutely, man. What a week. I know we always start off this week with some stuff, man. Mm-hmm. It has been a crazy week this week. It's been crazy busy. Gosh, I'm trying to even think about what happened because it happened so quickly, man. Look, happy Halloween to everybody out there. Yes. You know, I'm dressed as myself, and that's one of the scariest things I've ever seen. But you know, it's been a wild week, man. It's been wild weather. It's starting to get a little bit colder. You know, I personally refuse to turn on the heat in the house yet until we get to maybe, you know, mid-November, early December. Right now it's just hoodie and sweats gear. Yeah. So that's kind of what we're rocking now, man. But it's been a crazy week. It's been a crazy week with crypto. It's been a crazy week with stocks. It's been a crazy week in sports. It's been a crazy week in life. A lot has gone on, man. How has your week been?
It's been the same on this side of town. It's been a while since you've been able to see us both together.
That's very true.
So I'm making progress on the injury, and now it's been a while. It's been too long. So really excited and amped to be in this moment right beside my brother, and for us to be doing our thing. And it trumps everything else that was happening this week because it's been a trying week as well. Yep. You know, but that's life.
It is, man. And look, if you didn't know about his injury, you know, of course, Will C's in the NBA. And the NBA season just started. And I know you saw the Lakers game. Russell Westbrook's out there. He's balling, turning over the ball a little bit too much for my liking. But he's balling out there. And, you know, look, this homie just crossed him up one time and Russell wasn't having it, so he just kicked him right in the foot. And, you know, we had to watch out for his foot a little bit. He's been on bed rest and no, but I'm glad you're getting better, man. I'm glad the foot is healing. Thank you. You know, hoping to run some laps to see sometime later this winter, you know, that's when it's great outside, man. The greatest weather you can have. That's when you really learn about yourself. Mm-hmm. So you learn about how much you want it is during the toughest time. So I can't wait to get busy doing that, man. But last week we did have an opportunity to talk about struggles and really talk about habit building and what healthy habits look like through the 21-3 method. And, you know, we're another week closer to that launch date, January 1st, 2022, when you'll have the opportunity to partake in one of the greatest programs for sustainable healthy habits there is out there.
Oh yeah, cannot wait. We really cannot wait because so much has went into the time and just the process of this and just keeping it raw and very authentic at the same time. Yep. Just, you know, being able to reflect back to it and there's proof visually and what you can see what this process has looked like. Yep. You know, albeit the good moments and not so great ones, but all experiences nonetheless to make you a better you. And that's what we really can't wait to bring to you.
Absolutely. And I can't wait to be a part of it either. You know, we're a community and we're always a growing community. And of course, it's very important to let you guys know where you can find the 21-3 method when it is available. You can go to the achromoussstore.com. Even though the 21-3 method isn't there now, we have these hats, we have these hoodies, we have these phone cases, we have shirts, we have sweatpants, we have socks, we have pillowcases, bottles, everything you can imagine is on the achromoussstore.com. That is the achromoussstore.com. And if you go there right now, you go to that promo code section right at checkout, you type in all caps, never fall. That is never fall. And you will receive 25% off of anything in the store.
Anything.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that's right.
That's a big discount off. And you look good in style doing so as well.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. There's nothing better than looking good and feeling great, feeling positive,
Yeah.
feeling blessed, feeling successful. I know we were talking about crypto, we were talking about stocks, we were talking about all that. We were talking about, metaverse or whatever, the new thing that Mark Zuckerberg is doing. That's going to be wild. That's going to be crazy. I can't wait to enter into another realm with one of those Oculuses. It is going to be pretty cool. I can't wait to exit this realm of reality and escape into that world. No, but we're excited about the future of Achromous. We're excited about our futures as well. And we're excited to talk about episode 41 today, where we will be discussing how you can create a positive and successful atmosphere. And I think it's important to do that now because a lot of us are going through struggles. A lot of us are trying to pull ourselves up, from our bootstraps. Yeah. And it's a struggle. It's a daily struggle. It always is. And even when you get to the level of truly making it, when you get to the level of breaking down barriers and climbing over these walls, it is still going to be a struggle. It always is. We're always growing. We're always learning. So with each and every step forward, there is going to be a struggle.
Yeah, I mean, with that being said, I mean that's kind of what makes the process of learning about yourself better because of the adversity that we face. I can say that just from my perspective, what I deal with daily, and I'm better for it. Even in those moments that aren't so great, and I just want to be done with it. That's when I push even harder because I know what's waiting on the outcome of it depends on my emotional maturity to work through and to humble myself as well through that process.
Right.
To know that no matter what it is, I matter most through it. So I'm supposed to go through this, whatever it is, so that I learn from it. You know?
Absolutely. And look, I mean, I would say when I started, really realizing what my circle, so to speak, looked like, what my particular atmosphere, what my area, what my friends look like, my family looked like, everyone. When I started to think about how they acted, how they made their way through life and what they did, I started noticing that I needed to put myself in a situation where I can be around certain people that have the same interests in mind. Now, the thing about it is, and I think this is the hard thing for both myself and Will C and everyone listening, is that sometimes that might not be family. Sometimes that might not be blood. Like, we're as much brothers as anybody else who has blood related, who's blood related. But I think that's the one thing I'm starting to learn is that, sometimes just because they are family or because they have, related, if they're related by blood, it may not be that they are going to be where you're going. Right. We all have our specific destinations. We all have our own particular goals in mind, and it's okay for somebody to be there at that particular season. It's not to say you gotta disband from your family, but you have to know that everyone has their place. Everyone has their place in your life. Everyone has their place in your particular circle. And as an individual, I think it's important to start developing that circle based on where you want to be. If you're talking about wanting to be successful, if you're talking about, for example, you want to get into real estate, you want to be a real estate investor, well, then you have to start talking with architects. You have to start talking with real estate agents. You have to start talking to people who have been there, who can potentially mentor you. You have to start taking particular courses. And some of those courses, you'll find people who are like-minded who can help you get to that level. So I think those people now who are outside of that, who may not own a home, who may not have those interests, they will tend to fade back from your life because they didn't belong there in the stage or the season that you're in currently, and the one that you're going into.
Yeah, I agree. We always speak on that with seasons and whatnot. And I think that's really important to understand and to be within yourself enough, in tune with yourself through your emotional maturity to recognize and understand that's okay. That's okay for it to be that way, because life is transitional. Everything we do is transitional. Nothing that we do for the most part is a forever. It's a choice in our now. And a lot of times you hear the term, you are the company you keep.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really, really important to understand what that looks like. And it doesn't mean that you care less about another person.
Very true.
Than, the fact that you need to make that time and create the healthy environment that you need for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because if a person cares enough to understand, they will support that. And they will even be able to be truthful enough with themselves to identify there is a difference in where we are in our lives. And it doesn't mean I don't care about you any less than where you are. I respect you and care enough about you that I support your direction from a distance, because that's not where I'm at or the direction I'm headed on.
Right.
And that doesn't mean that in a new season that doesn't correlate back to one another because of growth and development. And this works in all aspects of life, albeit any form of relationship, companionship, friendship, through family, whatever that looks like to you. That's what happens. Even with work, it's a process, and you're supposed to develop and learn more about those things about yourself, so you can be in a place that be helpful to you. Like Jay said earlier, with being like-minded, right? And embracing like another person that's like-minded with you is so vital to the sustainability of your growth in a direction that's for you. Like, because you can have people around you that they're intentional, they do mean well, but they're not at a good place in themselves to be able to give that support or to recognize what your needs are and how to be supportive and uplifting, right? So it's like with Jay, like, if he's into weightlifting and, that's not my area of expertise. That's my brother.
Right.
But there's someone that may be more suitable for it to be there for him in that aspect. Then I support that enough. Hey, let that person be that part that's going to be with him. That's not my role. Right. And a lot of times I like to look at that in that thought process is like, we all have our scripts in life. And we're the main lead, and we have our roles to play, and then we have sub roles for other people in our lives. People come in and out, they cast in and out for different reasons. People have purposes. I know personally, I've served as a purpose in some people's lives. I've been able to identify in this healthy season to know ahead of time. I know I'm only in your life temporarily, but what I do with this time and how impactful I am in your life is the difference maker for me. Right. So I'm practical. I try to be practical about the decisions that I make, because I don't want to leave a negative impact on your journey that's for you or to receive that. So I'm conscious in what I decide to give out because of the atmosphere I want to create. And ultimately, that's going to draw and gravitate what's for me to me. So that's how I approach a lot of what I do now.
Very true. And I think you made a great point. Even though there are people who are doing different things because of their different interests, there is still that thing that they have in common with all of us, and that's growth. I mean, just look at our podcast, for example, the guests we've had on, a transitional life coach and a dream interpreter. We've had on a vocalist. We've had on a musician. We've had on an actor. All of these different guests we've had on, they are all walking their own separate paths. But the thing that they have in common is growth, right? They started somewhere, they're growing the right way through their craft, they're improving, they're learning to love themselves more, they're learning to take more calculated risks in order to fulfill their dreams. And all of that is growth. Right. And it's the same thing with the Achromous podcast. As we continue to grow our community, as we continue to grow the thought and the idea of sustainable, healthy habits, this is all part of that. So I think that's a really great thing that you talked about there, where you're saying that even though we all have different walks of life, that one thing that we have in common is growth. Yes. That is definitely positive. And I think when it comes to creating a successful atmosphere, a positive atmosphere for yourself, I think a lot of that does kind of start off with your purpose, right? Determining what your purpose is. And then focusing in on that, I think would help you to understand how you can really craft that type of atmosphere for yourself. Admittedly, sometimes we may be lost in where we are. We may not know that the people who are in our lives aren't necessarily supposed to be there to fulfill our destiny, because our destiny is, we're still trying to find out where we're supposed to be.
Right.
And maybe they aren't being as positive or as helpful as they could be, whether it's on purpose or accidentally. So I think it's important to remove yourself from those certain situations, especially if you know where you're supposed to be going, right? I think there's nothing worse than knowing that you're supposed to be doing something different and you purposefully don't do that.
Oh,
You purposefully stay away from the destiny that you were meant to fulfill, whether it's out of fear, whether it's just out of not loving yourself, whether it's just not being able to grow. I think all of those things, I think all of that is magnified when you know that you should be doing something else, but you're choosing not to.
Yeah, that's the biggest disservice you can do to yourself. And that's
Mhm.
honestly for me, that's something where I've really strayed away from the thought process of allowing myself to live in that again. Because I've
Mm,
lived that, I've done that.
mm,
And like as you said, and being able to identify that was happening, I had to
yeah.
discover what my purpose was going to be, what
Mhm.
my why. And that
Mm,
ultimately started the whole process of this to
so
begin
you
with.
had to figure out your
Oh,
why before you can move
oh
forward.
yeah, I had to
Mm,
figure out but I had to figure out the cause of this for me to understand
okay.
my why and my
Sure.
purpose, right? And so in order to just be sustainable in my seasons of change, right?
Mhm.
As we discussed the idea of what permanent change looks like, we've had that
Right.
conversation before in previous episodes,
Yep.
and I think it's really important that you take that time to really identify that about yourself, because I had to realize that for me, and I knew that
Mm,
fear was holding me back, fear in general,
right.
which is another thing we've discussed. But I
Yep.
think when you really base on what that looks like, in my case, it had everything to do with self-worth.
Mm,
It had everything to do with
wow.
self-worth,
Wow.
self-love, and self-care, because
Mm,
I ultimately didn't know I mattered. I
wow.
didn't know I really mattered.
Mm,
And I didn't know even more the effect my presence had and people who cared about me most in their
mhm.
life. So it didn't matter enough to me what they felt, because you could give me a compliment and I'd brush it off because I'm like,
Mm,
I'm not worthy of that. Like I don't,
yeah.
you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? That's happened.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
that's
yeah,
interesting. That's
right.
also happened to me too. I mean, perfect examples if you're working out, like sometimes I forgot how strong I was or
Mhm.
still am, but I didn't allow those compliments to get to my head. I think I wanted to continue to push myself enough where the compliments were like, I felt like the compliments would make me weak. Like
Mhm.
I felt
Mhm.
like if I listened to it too much, I would fall back. I wouldn't train as hard. I wouldn't want to get stronger because I'm like, I made it. Obviously, somebody's seen me. So I think that's interesting that you brought that up where you're like, you're pushing. Yeah, okay, yeah, but that's not for me. That's not me. I'm not there yet, or I'm not as strong as you think I am. I'm really weak. Like all of that negative talk, all of that self-doubt, it really is self-fulfilling because you
Mhm.
you then get to that stage where you're like, oh boy, I am a lot weaker than I used to be. Oh
Mhm.
man, I've stopped going to the gym now. I don't go often. And stuff like that actually starts happening. So I think as long as you continue to put that positive energy out there, put it in your mind and take those compliments as they are, because somebody else is noticing,
Mhm.
your progress, noticing that you're putting in the work and the
Yeah.
results are coming out. I think that's important for you to also recognize. And I think that brings the next point up where it's like being able to spread joy and confidence to others around you. I think that also is a way to create a successful and positive atmosphere.
Yeah, yeah, it is, again, it starts with identifying that in yourself and what
Yeah.
that represents and what it looks like to
Mhm.
you. Like that has everything to do with it from experience, to be able to get to that point. Look, like what you said about reevaluating your atmosphere, your support system, right?
Mhm.
Something we talk about, and that's something I've had to learn how to transition in this point of my life where I started with this process and recognizing I had work internally that needed to begin that I
Mhm.
wasn't doing.
Right.
Identify those things, be honest with myself, start approaching it. So I started there. And as I started there, I started learning more about me. I started
Mm.
learning more about what made sense to Will and like what was important in his life, and started to prioritize my worth for me,
Mhm.
what that looked like. And those around me would either notice the changes, see it in a way that to they can contribute to it, or they'll continue to just be as they were. Right. And at that point, my inner circle from where it was like 2 years ago to now is totally, it's their key feature people who are still there, but it's totally a different outlook of who I decide to keep around me through my sustainability. Because of my thought process, I'm not who I was. Right. So I can't stay in an environment like that. Look, with me personally, how I am as a person, and Jay can vouch for this. And I think on a positive note where it's like anything negative, if it's not I am one person to be there for you. I'm gonna empathize where needed and be there. But if we're not thinking practical on what's a resolution to what you're dealing with, I don't entertain it. Because then I'm supporting an unhealthy habit for you. And that's something that I would do. And then I took on it internally, compartmentalized, and just let it like fester in certain parts where it affected my personal life. Right. And that was due to the empath in me. So it goes back to knowing yourself. So now in this season, if you're going to talk about something, I'm all about being supportive with you, but be practical about finding a resolution to what that issue is. That's then you doing you a disservice in your progression, because I'm a part of your support system. I may not have the answer for you, but you have to be willing to do the work for you first. And if I don't see you being willing to do it for you, how can I expect it to have any impact on that without it affecting me? So it's really important to evaluate your support system around you, because you got to see where you fit in that season in that person's life. Because I know a lot of people personally who they just aren't happy with themselves. And that has to do with the fact they're not doing that work. And I recognize it, but coming from someone that's doing the work, I then become an enemy to you, an opposition to what you're feeling. Right?
That's crazy.
And you're able to focus and center that around a being to distract you from doing what's best for you. So what do? I pull back and refrain, because I'm not meant to be in that season for you. I'm the sub character in your life. I hope you get it right. I hope you figure it out, but that's not my role to play, because then that affects my atmosphere, my outlook, and what I give. And what that's going to do is transcend to the people who have been giving me the energy that I was giving them, the good energy, the people who are healthy mindsets, who's thinking on the same process and the same wavelength as me. So everything you do has to be practical about this process. You have to really put thought into it. And it's not easy to maintain these parts of spread and joy, because some people will look at it and they will like people don't know how to embrace it. Like hey, let's keep it 100 since we're going there. There are a lot of people I know that's watching the content we put out. And there's some people who won't respond on it. There's some people that will avoid it. They see it. And no disrespect to those who reach out individually. Let's be clear.
For sure.
Because some people are truly introverted in that way, and we respect that, and I get that. Right. But there are some people I see and I know who they would rather entertain something that is not on a good movement, and they choose to do that because they're not in the place in their life to address it. I've actually had some folks mention to me that they know that they're not ready for that. Okay. So, you choose to be where you are. So for folks like that, respectfully, if you're watching, you are where you choose to be. So until you're ready to make work for yourself, do folks around you a favor. If you're not ready to be a part of a good atmosphere, then don't interrupt those who are trying to grow and do those things, because you're going to have those people who are not going to be supportive of that. And that's not something we typically would touch on. But with this particular subject, I think it's fair to mention it, because there are a lot of people, it's like, we support what you do. Do you really? Do you really support what it is? And you're taking these gems, keeping it for yourself, but you're not helping to spread the word to create a healthy, good atmosphere. And that's where we at on it. That's where I'm at on it personally. So, and if you have a problem with what I'm saying, unfollow me.
Damn. Straight like
that's how I feel, because it's one of those things where it's sad, because you truly want the best for other people.
Absolutely.
But they gotta want the best for themselves first and be willing to do the work. And once you recognize it, that's where I think, for me, that's the power of choice. Because I was like, I can easily just ignore parts of myself that aren't as easy to deal with, or like learning how to to work with myself to continue to hold my self-worth like a lot of other folks are out here doing, like we all do.
Yeah.
But I want that fight. I want that dog fight.
Mm.
I want to go through it because I'm better for it. I'm
Mhm.
better for it. And guess what? The atmosphere I create around me is going to be beneficial to everyone that comes encounter with me, where they're like, you have a glow, you have
Yeah.
a presence that
Yeah.
you bring.
Yeah.
And isn't that something that you would love to hear or like to receive that sort of energy? Like before, I would probably say no.
Mm.
Now that's not the case.
Mm.
Absolutely. That is me. That is who I am to my core.
So before, why wouldn't you have wanted to receive that?
Because I didn't know I was worth it.
Mm.
Because I didn't think, like, even with work, you get a compliment or people tell you, like, for example, like this one is near and dear to me. People say to me, you know, it was no secret, I'm divorced, whatnot. It's just as a father that's trying to raise his children and what that looks like. And I have people tell me all the time, you're a great dad. You know, in the beginning of this process, I've always heard that, but it was hard to accept because as a parent, I'm like, I don't know if I'm making the right choices. Like, hell, it got to, like, that's parts that they're gonna have to have questions about, deal with on that part of my life, where it's like, oh, you're divorced, why? These are the questions, things I gotta have. And in yourself, you know, you're fighting because it looks like it's, you know, it's bad. And it's just like there's certain things, as an example for that, but there's certain things where it's just like I would hear, you know, you're a great father, and I'm like, oh man, but if I'm so great, then why is it like this? And why are things like that? And then trauma triggers come in about certain things, you know how it is. And then you like, oh man, I don't know if I'm doing this right. But now I'm at a place where I heard it just today. And I'm like, thank you. I had someone stop me. I was taking out some trash.
Yeah.
And I dropped my kids off. It was rotation time. I dropped them off, came back. They were out there, spoke, came back. They stopped me to the neighbor just to say, hey, I've been watching, just observing. You know, people do. People always watching. It's just like, I just want to tell you, I'm proud of you because I've known you for years, and you're doing a great job. With your children, you're a great dad. Like, don't, I just wanted to say it to you so you know. And that meant so much for me to hear in that moment, because honestly, in that moment, I was a little frustrated about something.
Sure.
And when she stopped me, I'm just like, yeah, hey. And it made me stop and realize that, wow, someone was really paying attention. They see the good moments. They see the not so, like, come on, kids, hurry up moments. Like, come on, what are you doing? They see me taking my daughter out on her bike, my son out on his bike. They see me on the walks. They see me, they hear the music, they hear us singing, they hear us playing. They see these things about yourself. And that's because of the healthy atmosphere that I'm creating. It all circles back.
Yep.
You see what I'm saying? So in those moments, because I was doing the work, I was able to accept that graciously and humbly and just say thank you, because it helps to reevaluate. I am onto something. I ain't got the answers, but I'm on to something, and that's life.
Yeah.
We won't have the answers to what we're doing. We just do. We just move when we go because we wake up. We have to. So be the peace you seek. Make the changes necessary for you. And once you accomplish that, then you can really know what it is to spread joy, to receive love, to give love. You'll know what that really is, right? And it's not something that's temporary because you've made it your now. So you will constantly live in it, and it won't be easy. There's going to always be moments of adversity, and you work through that, grow through what you go through in your seasons, and the best you will come out of it, Jay.
Absolutely.
It will come out of you, man.
I couldn't have said it better myself, man. Look, I think the one thing that I picked up there, especially when it came to your kids, was being able to start visualizing the life that you want them to have, the life you want them to experience.
Yes.
Right? It's a life of growth. It's a life of learning how to deal with things, learning how to deal with issues, learning how to deal with frustration, learning how to deal with things that just didn't go right. How do I learn from this? How do I continue to evolve? How do I continue to take the next steps? And I think that's important for us, regardless of the age that we are too. Even if we're older, we can still grow, right? You can be 70, 80 and still need to grow. It needs to happen. And I think being able to visualize that life, being able to not only have the knowledge of where you want to go, but then put in the action to get there, that is the only way to get there. I think what you said was true too. I think a lot of people have said, and yeah, same thing. They said they've looked at parts of the podcast. They said they've listened to certain parts of the episode. I couldn't finish it though. It was, God, I was getting a little too worked up. I felt a little bit too much of my feelings. I felt like you were talking to me about certain things, right? It's probably true. We
Probably
probably
true.
were. But the thing is, we don't come to you from a blame perspective. We don't come to try to put that pressure on you to say you're doing wrong. We're saying here is how we did it. Here's how it's worked. Here's how you can also feel the way we feel about ourselves now versus where we used to be, which is where you probably are now. So this is all to help you. It's all to help our community to grow as one unit, to continue to evolve, to continue to help each other, to spread joy to each other, to love each other, so that we all rise. Because that, I think, is what makes that's what makes humanity great.
Yeah.
That's what makes being human great. That's what makes a person being great. That's what makes a family be great. That's what makes friends be great. That's what makes anybody be great. It's if everybody is walking in lockstep with each other. And I think, God, I mean, for the longest time, even before the pandemic, even before the elections, the past few years, it's just felt like we've reached this type of boiling point in our society. Where, I mean, now the metaverse is probably the best thing you've heard of because it's an existence that isn't actually reality, but it seems like it's so much better than reality because it's an area where you can truly be yourself. You can truly create a character. You can become an avatar and be somebody else in a different land versus being who you are here. It's like a form of escapism.
Yeah.
I don't want to be here anymore. Let me go enjoy life there. And it's like we continue to find ways to run away from problems. We continue to distract ourselves. We continue to make excuses instead of dealing with it head on. So I think in order to really develop that sphere, that atmosphere, that positive and successful circle that you want to build, you have to know exactly what that looks like. You have to be able to visualize where you're going so that you can actually get somewhere rather than walking in circles and not knowing where you're going.
Agreed. I mean, well said. And in doing those things along the way, you organically will create the right support system, the healthy habits necessary to sustain it,
Yeah.
and ultimately a successful atmosphere. And people will gravitate towards that.
Yep.
Because that's where you choose to be. That's where you choose.
Yep.
Because you see the glow, you see the grow in you.
Yeah. Yep. And you did mention the glow too. I mean, it is a different vibe, right? Like there is a time where you can walk into a room and nobody will notice you, right? It's when you're gloom, it's when you don't believe in yourself, you have no self-confidence, your posture's bad, your head is down. When they ask you to speak, you mumble. All of those things, they yell, man, I'm not confident in myself. I don't believe in myself. I don't believe in what I do. But when that switch happens, when you literally transform in who you're supposed to be, that glow up is real. Like you walk into that room, you command attention in the room without saying a word.
Yes.
The stance is different, the walk is different, the speech is different, the ability to showcase your talents, your God-given talents is different because that's what people will see. And it radiates, man.
Oh, it does.
It brings everybody around you to you. It is infectious. So why would you not want to feel that? Why would you not want to do the work to get to that point so that you can also experience that for yourself? There's no reason why. So this is why we wanted to do this episode today, because we felt like this was a time to share with our community that all of this is up to you to do. But here are the steps to take it so that you can get there, right? Like literal steps. I've taken, the people in our community have taken it, and listen, we're still growing. We're still learning. We're still glowing up. This is what we're doing though. Everybody we've had on, all the episodes that we've talked about have been about healthy habits and growth, because that is what we're about. So why not be a part of a community? Why not be active in a community who is doing that? Who is about those healthy habits, who are about spreading this joy, who are about creating the successful atmosphere so that everybody else gets a bite, everybody else in there gets the glow, everybody else gets a piece. I think this is the best episode for this particular time, because I know a lot of people are going through it. I know
Yeah.
it's been a tough year for anyone out there who's alive, who's living, who's working, who's trying to find work.
Yeah.
It's been very tough. So I think it's important to stay positive, but at the same time, you have to put in the work to allow yourself to sustain that positive energy, to sustain that successful atmosphere that you want to build. Because it's very easy to go the other way. It's very easy to be negative. It's very easy. It's very tough to stay in this realm. But you'll see that once you do, once you put in that work to stay there, everything else becomes easier. Everything else flows. And that energy brings in even more energy. It brings in the right people. It brings the people you want to continue to surround yourself with because they are also taking that right path.
Yeah. And that's what it's about at the end of the day. Like that's what you'd hope to have accomplished when you go through the process. And from experience, it feels damn good. Ah man, it's a beautiful
Mm-hmm.
feeling to be in that realm, to have that type of support, to have that type of energy around you. So even when you're not your best self, you'll never fall flat
Mm.
because you always have what you put in to catch you.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Yep. You always have that base. You always have that foundation. You always have those habits that you use to build upon each other so that you never fall all the way back down. You may learn lessons along the way, and that's life. That's the beauty of it.
Yeah.
Each and every day we learn something.
We
And
do.
we continue to not only learn, but we teach, right? We put this advice out there, we put these gems out there to help you from what we experience. Not something that we see written down somewhere, not something that's been typed up and shown in different videos or anything like that. It's what we've literally gone through, is what we've learned along these ways. And your experience may be different than ours. So at this time, you being a part of the community, we want to hear how you are actively working on creating this positive atmosphere in your life, this atmosphere that's full of successful and positive vibes and energy, so that you can allow yourself to propel towards your destiny and have everybody else in their circle prepare for theirs as well.
Yeah. So all we ask is that you share that with us, share with the rest of the community,
Yeah.
grow with us, allow us to be a part of that positive atmosphere you're creating for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Because you know what you're getting here.
Yep.
Every time, every
Mm-hmm.
Sunday. And even in between that, the content we put out there.
Yep.
It's going to always be something that's going to be uplifting and positive for you.
Every single
And
time.
you know why? Because you matter. You're so damn worth it.
Absolutely. 100%. And look, I would say that the best story, the best answer to this, the best version of your life will be able to be featured on the next Achromous podcast, as well as during the week on our social media platforms. So at this time, of course, there are some people who have not been here before. There are some people who may be coming to the 41st episode of this podcast. And we thank you for joining. We hope that you were able to take away some gems from this episode and literally go through tomorrow. As soon as you get to work, whether you're teleworking or you're in the office, start working on creating a positive and successful atmosphere.
Yeah.
If you're a manager or supervisor, start implementing that strategy with your employees. I guarantee you their ability to perform, their production will increase, their reason for coming to work and doing something will increase, because I got to tell you what, there are a lot of people who are walking off jobs right now.
Yes.
They're calling this the great resignation.
Yeah.
So if you're a manager, if you're holding down a business, you're a CEO, you want to keep employees there all the time. You want to keep employees employed. You want to keep people employed. You want to keep your business growing.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a very important time for you to implement these strategies into that business. So whatever story is best, you send that to us. We'll be able to post this up. We'll be able to talk about it at the beginning of our next episode. So I think the one thing for those people who have been here before and they, for whatever reason, still don't understand the brand, they don't understand the name, I'm not going to be upset this time. I'm not. We've been doing this for a while. I'm feeling the positive vibes today. I'm feeling the energy. There you go. It's here. It's here. So I'm not going to take it out on you this time, but I'll help you out. Achromous, Achromous. could follow us on YouTube. If you're watching this on YouTube, you hit that like button, you hit that subscribe button, you hit that notification bell so that when this video launches or any other video that comes after, it'll be the first one in your feed. Most of all,
it's free to do so.
Crazy. We're also on Facebook. We're also on Spotify. We're also on TikTok. We're also on Instagram. We're anywhere that you can hear or see a podcast. And ladies and gentlemen, I mean, I think this was a great episode to have this week. I also think that next Sunday would be another great episode that kind of leaps into that, right? We talked about successful atmosphere. We talked about keeping this positive energy and these positive vibes. But I think there's something inside that we may hold onto that may not be as positive going forward. I think there are certain things that have happened in our lives and in your lives as well that you may be holding on to. And I know some of us struggle to grow from that because it's tough to trust again, right? It's tough to allow yourself to be vulnerable again, because we tend to hold on to these very traumatic experiences, and we may have trouble sleeping at night. We may have trouble keeping friends. We may be withdrawn from the world because we are fighting an internal battle. So next week, next Sunday, 9:30 a.m., episode 32, Finding Inner Peace. I truly believe this episode is one that a lot of people need to listen to, even though I think all of our episodes are the same in terms of having people listen to these gems. Yeah. This particular one next week it's going to be pretty deep and pretty emotional for people to be listening.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the source, it's the core of this, and understanding what does inner peace look like to you. What does that represent? And I know for me, it was part of my purpose to find peace and to find joy and to self-worth, self-care, self-love, and understand what that represented for me. That's what I wanted most, because I hadn't had that in my life. I didn't know what that looked like. I just learned how to exist through the chaos, and it was too much, so I had to learn. And we'll definitely be delving deep into that and discussing and sharing, as always, our experiences with it. And we can't wait for you to tune in.
Yeah. So if you're going through this, if you know a family member who's going through it, if you know a friend that's going through it, have them listen, have them join in, have them tune in. And of course, feedback. We're a community. We're continuing to grow. Our DMs are wide open. Our comment sections are wide open. You can comment below on this episode. Let us know what you think about it. Let us know if you are also working on creating a positive and successful atmosphere. And we can't wait next week to talk about how you can find that inner peace and continue to grow, continue to build healthy habits, continue to believe in yourself, continue to improve yourself, because you matter and you're so damn worth it.
Well said, Jay.
Yeah, absolutely. So, ladies and gentlemen, I want you to enjoy this Sunday. We want you to enjoy your Halloween. Be safe out there. All those trick-or-treaters, do not knock on my door. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I've got candy. I'll dress up. I'll do the whole thing. It's been a tough year. So I know a lot of people are loving to get outside with themselves or their kids, and being able to celebrate, being able to spread some joy and some laughter and eat some sweets. So get out there this evening, stay safe, and until next Sunday, it's your boy JH Gibbons.
And we'll see.
Peace.